Okay, before we get into any implementation details, I want to briefly explain the mechanism to implement authentication and authorization when using Angular 2 on the client and one of the server-side frameworks like ASP.NET MVC or Node. With this architecture, your Angular app talks to a bunch of APIs on the server. You want to restrict access to these APIs, so only authenticated users or users with special privileges can call certain APIs to read and or write data. Here's the typical flow. The user navigates to the login page and enters their username and password. Once they click the submit button, we call an API on the server with their credentials. To prevent the user's password from being captured in man-in-the-middle attacks, we should call this API on HTTPS or secure HTTP channel. This way, the data transferred between the client and the server is encrypted, so it can't be captured by a hacker. Now, on the server, we validate this username and password and generate what we call a JSON Web Token or JWT, which is basically a small JSON object that is digitally signed and encoded using base64 algorithm. Now, we store this JWT on the client, typically in local storage of the browser. Next time the user wants to access a protected resource on the server, we call an API endpoint and pass that JWT in the request header. On the server, we validate this JWT, and if it's valid, we allow access to protected resources. Now you might be wondering, what is inside this JWT? We have basic information about a user, like their user ID, username, their full name, the roles they are part of, and so on. So on the server, we don't need to create a database every time we need this information. It's all available in our JWT. This is what we call stateless authentication, because we do not save user's state on the server. Traditionally, we used to allocate a part of server's memory for each user, which we called session. The problem with this approach is that it's not scalable. The more users we have, the more memory we need. With stateless authentication, however, we don't have this problem because the user's state is transferred between the client and the server in each request using our JWT. Now, what about security? Is this approach secure enough? For example, here we have a JWT, and as you can see, admin property is set to false. What if a hacker sets admin to true for their own account and then encode this JWT and send it to the server? Would they have admin access? No, this is not possible. Because this token is digitally signed on the server by a secret using the HMAC algorithm. So, unless the hacker has access to that secret, they cannot tamper the content of a JWT, because they would need to create a new signature based on the modified content, and this is impossible without having that secret. So this is the big picture. Next, we're going to take a closer look at a JWT.